What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of Retro Tech. In this episode, we're taking a look at the OkiMate 10 printer for the Commodore 64 and IBM compatible PCs. For this video, I'll be looking at this specifically when used with the Commodore 64. As you can see, it requires a plug-and-play kit, which means basically you need an adapter to use it with the computer that you have. So this one, when I bought it, already came with the Commodore adapter already installed in it, so I'm all set to go there. But you can also buy a IBM compatible PC adapter as well. I think there are only two adapters, but I could be wrong. The plug-and-play kit also included, in addition to the adapter, included a data cable or serial cable, as well as a color and a black cartridge, I believe. I do have a cartridge around here somewhere. But I don't know where it is, so I'll show you the cartridge that's already installed in here so you can see what it looks like. But this is a color printer, which is cool. It makes it stand out from a lot of the other Commodore printers that were out there. A lot of them were black and white. Color is pretty unique, so that's one of the reasons I went with this particular printer. And in addition, it's a very, very popular printer as far as I could tell for the Commodore. It's one of the more popular printers out there. It prints in a fairly decent speed. It's not as slow as some of the other ones out there, although I can't really compare because this is the only printer I've ever used with the Commodore 64. I don't even know why I bought this in the first place. I just thought it was cool. I wanted a printer to print things with the Commodore for some reason. I don't know. I'm just kind of fascinated with it. But anyway, let's just unbox it first, and I'll show you what's inside and what's included and all that good stuff. Kind of show you around the box in the presentation. So as you can see, they have a slogan here. See what your computer can do when it stops playing games, which obviously means print. So it can play games and print stuff. So it kind of has a little bit of a gatefold presentation here, which is kind of cool. So you open it up, you have some information on the top here, which I'll show you in a second. Is an actual picture of the printer itself and kind of a demonstration of what it looks like. I don't think it's actually going to print this well when I demonstrate it later in this video. Mainly because I don't have the right paper for it. Technically, you can use any sort of paper with this printer, but it does recommend heat transfer paper, which I do not have. So all I have is regular printer paper, which does work, but the quality isn't quite as good as if it was heat transfer paper. But anyway, yeah, there's the printer here. I'll show you that later on the actual printer. Let me pan up on the camera here and show you the top part of this. So as you can see, it gives you a bunch of information, kind of a Q&A thing. What do you need a printer for your computer for? To print stuff. There's also, let's see, what's the most important feature of any printer? And that is ease of setup and use. And this, I gotta admit, this printer is very easy to set up and use. I'd say it's even easier than a modern printer. All I had to do, at least when using it with GEOS, is drag the printer driver over to the floppy disk, and that's it. You could start printing immediately. There's no installation like you would with a modern computer and a modern printer. Even though modern versions of Windows, technically you plug in a printer and it installs itself, but it does take a while. It's not instant, where this is pretty much instant. You don't even need to do that. Technically, you can just plug this into the Commodore and run some commands and just print immediately with no drivers, which is pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, so there are a whole bunch of information here. Shows you kind of a demonstration of what the graphics looks like. What makes the OkiMate 10 color printer different from other printers? The simple answer is color. So yeah, there's the picture of the cartridge. It actually kind of looks like a cassette tape, which is kind of cool. What about reliability? What kind of paper can you use? Just about any paper, it says. Again, you have different results depending on what kind of paper you use, but you can technically use any sort of paper. What is a plug-and-play print package? That's just saying, okay, so here's what's included in the plug-and-play package, which was sold separately from the printer itself. Included a black cartridge, a color cartridge, computer paper, data cable, printer handbook, and learn to print software package. So I don't actually have the actual kit. I only bought a separate cartridge, ink cartridge, or ribbon cartridge I should say, to print with. It also the particular printer I bought came with a black cartridge, and I bought a color cartridge separately, and it already had the adapter for the Commodore in here, so I didn't need that. So yeah, I don't have the Learn to Print software package. I'm not sure what's included in that. But to demonstrate the printer, I will be using GEOS, which is the best demonstration of it because it has a word processor as well as a painting program, so I can print in color, I can print graphics, print text, and all that. But anyway, that's the outside of the box. Let's take a look inside, and I'll show you what is included. Now, I don't know if everything that's supposed to be included is actually in the box, because I bought it used, but it did come with the manuals and obviously the printer itself. Let me just pan the camera back down here. Kind of get it into position. Alright, so inside you have some foam, and you open it up, and here's the printer itself. So you have a manual, which is quite nice. Has a whole bunch of information on what you can do with the printer, how to operate it, how to install it, how to install the paper, all that good stuff. Nice little manual there. Also I believe this is sort of a troubleshooting guide, so if you're having some issues, you can take a look and see. So if you're having lines through your print, it'll tell you what to do about that, things like that. Now, what if it's not printing? What if it's not working at all? So yeah, that's kind of a troubleshooting guide there. And here is the printer itself. So let's take it out of the foam here. Move that aside, and there we go. Here is the printer itself. Let you get a little bit of a close-up here. So on the printer we have a kind of a darkness adjustment here, so you can make the print either lighter or darker. Usually you leave that in the middle. Apparently that is the default according to the manual. You also have a ready light, which kind of indicates the status of the printer, if it's ready to print, if there's a problem, things like that. And there's also a button here which you can do various things with. There's a knob here which will take the paper in. So you can move the paper in and out. It moves the rollers inside so that the paper is fed in and out. So you do that to load the paper. There's some lock levers here to lock the paper in or unlock it if you're feeding new paper. There's also another lock sort of lever here as well. So on the side of the printer you have the serial port, which is where you plug the Commodore into. You can actually open up this slot, remove the cartridge, and swap it out with, say, a PC compatible cartridge if you wanted to. But like I said, the Commodore cartridge is already in here. And then on this side you have the power switch. So here's where you feed the paper. I'll actually show you how to put the paper in right now. But actually I want to show you the cartridge real quick. So you open this up, open this door, and there's the cartridge. Currently I have the color cartridge in there, but I do have a black cartridge as well, but we're going to print with the color one. I assume the color cartridge can also print black. It'd be kind of weird if it couldn't. But yeah, I assume I can print everything with the color cartridge, whereas the black, obviously, I can only print black. So let's close that up here. Alright, so let's load in some paper so we can get ready to print. So this is pretty easy to do. All you need to do is have this lever here in the open position. Make sure these are forward. And then you can use this to feed the paper in once you have it slotted in. So you kind of slot it in here. Make sure it's in between the one line on each of these lock levers. So there's a dual line and a single line. You want it in between the single lines. As far as I can tell, that's what's worked for me. The manual's a little bit vague on that, but I did figure that out eventually. So you just kind of, it's a little bit tricky to do. You just gotta kind of turn the wheel here and make it go through. Actually, I forgot to open this. You need to open this in order to get the paper through. So you kind of want to push the paper a little bit, turn the wheel until it goes through, which it will eventually. It seems a little awkward, but it will eventually go through. Maybe. Sometimes it has to go through crooked, and then you can straighten it out afterwards. seems to kind of gotten stuck here. That's okay. Once you get it far enough through, you can just kind of pull it. So you want to kind of straighten it out once you get it through. So that's, you know, that's not too bad. And then you can close the door here. And there we go. It's all set to print. Alright, so we have GEOS all booted up here and ready to go. We have our printer all hooked up to the Commodore. So we are ready to print. As you can see down here, once you have the driver file copied over to the GEOS disk, it will say the name of your printer on the bottom left here. So in my case, the OkiMate 10. So that's how you know it's installed and ready to go. So let's go over to one of the programs, I guess the Paint program first. Now, we might just do Paint because I don't think there's any point in showing you both the word processor and the Paint program, because I think the Paint or GeoPaint will sufficiently show the printing capabilities of the printer. So anyway, let's go to create a new document, or a new image, I guess you could say. Alright, enter a new file name. Okay, let's just do test1. Alright, so let's make a masterpiece. Okay, so let's go with, well, let's select a color first. Alright, let's go with some green. Why not? Oh, forgot to select the paintbrush. Okay, so we got green, paintbrush. Alright, I have no idea what we're gonna draw here. Let's draw a tree. That makes sense, right? There we go. Let's kind of make something that looks somewhat like a tree. So we'll make a bit of a landscape, I guess. Kind of fill this in here. Don't need to fill it in all the way, I guess. Don't want to really waste my ribbon cartridge. Not that I'm really going to use it that much, but... So yeah, kind of fill it in like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, but something like that. Okay. Oops. Alright, so let's select a different color now. Let's make the trunk of the tree, so that would be brown. I always forget you only need to hit the button once to start drawing. Oh. And I didn't select the paintbrush again. You might be able to tell I haven't really used this program much. Okay. There we go. That looks somewhat like a tree. Yeah, so we'll go with that. And let's just draw a bit of a sky. We'll select a blue color here. Let's go with the light blue. Select the paintbrush next. And, alright. Yeah, so I'm not going to fill in the entire background with blue because that would be... Yeah, that would take a heck of a lot of the cartridge. And it would also take forever to print, so I'm just going to kind of put some blue in the background and call it a day. Alright, that looks good. That's acceptable. Alright. So as a final touch here, I'll sign the channel name at the bottom right. So no one can steal my image. It'll be in an art gallery before long for $1 million. I'm sure of it. Alright, so let's see if I can actually do this. Alright. R. I'm making this way too big. I'm not gonna have enough room. Alright, let me just do RS. That'll work. There we go. There's my masterpiece. My lifelike tree and sky, as well as my fantastic logo there. Alright, so we are all set to print. So all you need to do is go up to the file here, select the print option. right, and here we have it. Here is our printout. So as you can see, it actually came out quite nice. You can ignore the blue line at the top here. I actually forgot to lock in the paper after I loaded it, so it wasn't feeding the paper through. So yeah, that's a failed print. So just ignore that. This is our actual print down below here, and as you can see, it came out quite nice. You can see the tree and the logo here. For some reason, the trunk came out in black. I assume that's because everything is kind of darker than what it showed on the actual Commodore. So the leaves here are actually darker green, so I assume that the trunk is probably black because it's darker, just a really dark brown. I don't know. It looks purely black, but that's okay. It did print out pretty nice. Any imperfections you see are because I'm printing on regular printer paper instead of the thermal transfer paper that's recommended, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, it actually looks quite nice. It actually has kind of a glossy look to it just because of the type of ink or ribbon that it uses, rather than it's not just like an inkjet printer like modern printers. It's a different sort of printing method. But yeah, it actually came out quite nice. Unfortunately, it did take about 8 minutes to print it. I did actually speed up the actual video, obviously, to a lot faster than it was in real life, because obviously I don't think you're going to want to watch an 8-minute printout, but yeah, so it's not the fastest printer in the world, but it does do a pretty good job. But anyway, that would be it for this video. Just a quick look at the OkiMate 10 printer for Commodore 64 and IBM compatible PCs. It is a pretty impressive printer for the time. I especially like the fact that it's so small, especially compared to other printers of the time. This is actually really, really compact. It is not the fastest printer in the world, as you could see, but it does its job. It works really well, and I mean, it still works after all these years, which is really impressive. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this look at the OkiMate 10. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.